Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. My name is Rob Hayes, and alongside me, old school style, is Pete Selby. And we were just having a discussion before we went live. We genuinely can't remember the last time that a show or a podcast only contained Pete Selby and Rob Hayes. It's like we've gone back in time many, many years. My answer to that was it was probably a time when we were better at football. We are here this evening live on Facebook, X and YouTube to preview Leicester City versus Southampton tomorrow evening. For those of you listening along who can't see Pete Selby, his little subtitle, little heading on there is Southampton commentator. It's the only reason we've got him on the show this evening is because he knows a little bit about Southampton, because he has the pleasure of watching them every game, doing the audio descriptive commentary highlights for them. For foxsake.news is our website. If you haven't been yet, where have you been? Just a £5 a month for subscriptions, or £50 for the entire year. Loads of stuff on there, including an opinion piece today from Andy Moore on whether Russell Martin becoming the favourite for the Leicester managerial position is an indication that the owners are completely tone deaf and are completely blocking out any noise from any supporters, because I think we're not going to talk too much about that tonight because we're looking at the Southampton game. But I think from my perspective and most supporters' perspective, he should probably be bottom of the list rather than top. Maybe not bottom. There's be some worse candidates than that, but, somewhere near the bottom. Anyway, it's Leicester versus Southampton. Pete's a Southampton commentator. Pete is a Leicester fan. Pete is 1/3 of For Fox's Sake. Pete and I started this podcast over a decade ago. But the first question I want to ask is with Pete's bookies hat on, because he does know a thing or two about the betting markets. And my question is, Pete, who is the favourite to get sent off for Leicester tomorrow night against Southampton?
Well, hello, sports fans. Hello, Rob. Yeah, it's 2013 all over again. It's me and you talking about football on For Fox's Sake. It's fantastic. Yeah, great to be here. And again, from a Southampton point of view as well, hopefully I can shed plenty of light on them. But yeah, who's going to get sent off? Well, who's left? Who's left for Leicester? Who's not going to be in the sin bin? Who's not going to be sat there cross-legged and trying to keep warm rather than out on the outfield? Also, who's available to be picked as well, because they're because of loan terms and all sorts. So if you had to pick one, if I had to pick one, I think probably I'll have to go with Skip. Skip would be the player for me, not because just because of the player, the position he is and his style, etc. I'm not saying he's a violent player or anything, but I think Skip for me, but maybe with his current form, it would probably be a clumsy slip by Ricardo Pereira that accidentally brings down a centre forward bearing down on goal, and he gets sent off. But there we go.
Yeah, I'd probably, when we were talking, well, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking maybe Lascelles, but what I don't want to do is say that out loud and make it happen, even though I just said it. Because I think I agree with Andy Moore's reflective piece off the back of the weekend's game, 5 things we learned. He does the post-match reaction on the website for foxsake.news, and he said Lascelles is going to be absolutely vital to us in the run-in in this last period of the season, and I completely agree with him. So I don't want that to happen. I'm going to go for someone like Abdul Fatawu, because I think at the moment you see his social media posts, you see how he's trying to play. He's very emotionally charged anyway. I think he feels the responsibility on his shoulders of trying to make stuff happen for Leicester. And defensively, he can be quite clumsy anyway. So I think there's very much a chance that he could make some studs connect with the lower leg of a player after a forwards tackle, shall we say. Evening to Scott, who is watching along live. If you are watching along live and you've never commented before, please do so. Or if you have, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for having us, Scott, on this evening. Yeah, Leicester coming into this one. I mean, they've not done Andy King any favours with sending off in his first 2 games in charge. Early sending offs as well, not even like late ones for 2 yellow cards. Leicester have lost 4 of their past 5 matches. Well, they're winless in the last 5. Now, Here's an interesting one, and this goes back even further than for Fox 8's origins for a stat, an unwanted stat that we could be facing tomorrow night. Leicester have lost their last 2 home league games. The last time they lost 3 in a row in a championship campaign was at the back end of the 2006-2007 campaign under a manager that I had forgotten about, Nigel Worthington. So that is that's best part of 20 years since we lost 3 championship home games in a row. Surely we can't be looking at that kind of record tomorrow night, Pete.
I think we can. I think we really, really can. That was a dark era, wasn't it? It really was, highlighted by the ginger hair of Nigel Worthington. And I remember actually when he was appointed, I was actually quite in favour of him because I thought he was kind of the guy who could steady the ship in a maybe a Tony Mowbray style. Maybe will be coming in if it all goes horribly wrong over the next few games, which it's perfectly looking like it might, to be honest. So we'll see. Yeah, we can. We can, of course, lose the next few games. We can set new records. We've had a record break in last few years, whether it's either with promotion or from relegation last time out. And with players dropping through, being sent off, making silly mistakes, and a team that has plenty of question marks over who is going to play, who's going to be in charge, who's going to be in charge further up, who's going to be in charge further up from that guy who's further up. It's a club at the moment that is drifting towards relegation, but we have still got a couple of things in our hands at the moment. It is one, we still have quite a long time to go in the league. We've got 15 games to go, or around that. And then we've also got these new players who 1 or 2 have made their first starts and looked impressive, and then a few of the others are still yet to play. So we still have that possibility as well to turn things around. So yes, it is really dark times at the football club, but we still have time, sports fans. We still have time, don't we? It's not quite Nigel Worthington and that era of the football club yet, and I say yet with a big possibility that it might just be around the corner, to be honest.
It might. We are here to preview Leicester Southampton, but obviously there are other talking points around the club, and we're happy to talk about what you guys watching and listening want to talk about. So Scott's got a question. How much of an influence do we think Martin Glover has over incoming players and managers, as it seems to be he only seems to want to look at one club? That's, I presume, referencing our mention of Russell Martin at the top of the show. And obviously Aribo's come in from Southampton, and we do have a few other sort of previous transfers between the two clubs that have not necessarily gone particularly well, or at least it depends on which side of the fence you sit for Vestergaard. Pete, your thoughts on Martin Glover, head of senior recruitment is his official title at Leicester City. Do you think it's a Southampton link that's making the bookies lean towards Russell Martin today?
Yeah, first of all, when it comes to the bookmakers, and again, in industry, I've worked in all of my working life and still do to this day. And I've said before, the most volatile markets in betting in all of sport is a managerial market. Okay, so if someone goes from 6-1 to 5-1, take zero notice. It's always fun though to keep an eye on it. But the fact that Russell Martin is the favourite at the moment with the bookies means nothing. It's only because he's been courted before by the football club. He plays a style of football which Top has mentioned over years that he wants Leicester to play, and obviously he got close working relationships, etc., with people at the club, and also with the fact that we've got a number of players from Southampton, and there is that kind of link between the clubs. It's an easy link to make. I'll make no bombs in saying that. I just don't think he's the man for the football club at all. I think he'll be a poor appointment. I think he'll be a lazy appointment, and I think he'll be an appointment that would go down unbelievably terribly with the fans. I can't think of another manager currently out there who's available who would be a worse pick in the eyes of the supporters. Okay, whether he's a success or not at the football club is completely different. I'm just talking about what the reaction from the Blue Army would be, and it would be awful. And then, but with relation to Glover, I think he's got away scot-free, to be perfectly honest, at the moment. I think our record over recent years has been quite dreadful, and I think a lot of it lays at his door. And I think some of the success stories that we've had mostly come from the manager. And we were talking yesterday about Enzo Maresca, etc. And I think he had such an influence on the club and also an influence over who came in, that's when he didn't quite get overall control, and when there was rumors and stories coming out about he couldn't get hold of the director of football, John Rudkin, all the time. But that's what you want in a manager. Someone like him was always going to be looking forward. He was always going to use Leicester as a ladder, a step on the ladder. But also, he wanted overall control, and I've no idea why they didn't give him overall control at that time, because it was going really well. Him going to Chelsea eventually, that was always going to happen, and it was a real kick in the guts for the football club. But I think the players that he brought in and the success, I don't think it had an awful lot to do with Glover. I think that would have been his own links, and he needs to get this appointment right. They need to be signing the right players. And hopefully we get a director of football, or should I say a technical, I think it was technical director of football or technical director in, and hopefully they have a really nice relationship, a really good relationship with the new manager. And the new manager coming in will be able to, and listen back to the podcast yesterday regarding Seagrave, be able to handle Seagrave, because I don't think we've had a manager since Maresca who's been able to do that, and B, be able to sign players to rebuild a squad which is going to be decimated in the summer, but decimated by players who have not been good enough leaving, rather than the other way around. So that's a good thing overall. So it's a massive decision that needs to be made. And the one thing I've been seeing today on social media, there's been a few posts regarding the amount of time it's taken. I'm not concerned about that, because it needs to be right. If Andy King's going to be a success for the next few weeks or months, fine. And take your time. Maybe get someone who's currently in employment already, but maybe not in the summer, but get it right. Don't rush this. The rush decision will be bringing someone in just to keep us up, like a Tony Mowbray. But do not rush the permanent appointment of a football manager. Get it right. And if it means someone's in employment now, maybe even as assistant manager, then wait until the summer, because that's the most important decision at this football club in the next 6 months, and possibly the most important decision at this football club in the last 5 or 6 years.
Agreed. I think the difficult thing as well for Andy King's tenure so far is that we're not 100% sure if it is totally safe hands that we can leave him in for X amount of weeks for this decision to be made, or for the rest of the season, like some people were talking about, because he's absolutely been shafted by the players in the last 2 games in terms of poor decision making and poor errors. So it's not like we know what we're getting with Andy King as a manager, because he's basically been trying to put out fires for the last 2 games, which has not made the overall bigger picture situation any easier. Evening to Buzzer saying Dean Smith links are getting warmer. I personally hope we get the long-term manager in now. Yeah, if it's the right long-term manager, agreed. Buzzer also saying apparently 4 managers have been interviewed and a decision has been made today. Interesting. Don't know what the source is there, but we'll wait and see. There will, of course, be plenty of reaction on the website for foxsake.news and on these live shows as well, as soon as a decision is made. Planet Earth sounded a little bit more positive, saying there's a lot of hysterics regards possible relegation with players nearing a return. It's highly unlikely. Yes, it is highly unlikely in some ways, but ultimately, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter who your players are, you have got to put enough points on the board to keep yourself in this division, and having 6 points taken away from us to put us level with the relegation zone on points and only just out of it on goal difference has really not helped that situation. Planet Earth also commented on the managerial choice, saying Rowett is the most obvious choice. Let's have a look what else we've got.
Not for me, Clive. Not for me, Clive.
Not for you. No, I mean, it again, that would be a short-term one for me. Also, the guy got sacked from the team that are 23rd in the championship. Why would the team in 21st, why would they pick him up? Interesting choice. Fossub TV saying get Skubala in. Planet Earth also saying can't wait to see the back of Daka. You'd think the club would sack him for gross misconduct. So he's scored at least a goal this season. I don't know what you're talking about. Right, we're pretty much halfway through the show, and we've not actually talked about the game tomorrow night. So let's get into the team. Let's start. Let's build back to front, because it's a nice, easy way to do it. Big news in terms of Andy King making a decision that was in his hands pre-match to go for Begovic over Stolarczyk, and it's a conversation we've had a few times on the preview, and then kind of left it because it didn't look like anything was going to happen. But Begovic in for Stolarczyk at the weekend. And again, if you go to forfoxsake.news, you'll see Andy Moore's reaction piece, 5 things we learned from the game, stating that he hopes that Andy King doubles down on this decision to keep Begovic in and say, look, it's your turn for a stint of games in the team. Take the heat off of Stolarczyk, who has his qualities, but also has had his flaws. And also, if you're putting Lascelles in at centre-back, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then you've got Begovic in goal, you're then adding huge amounts of top-level experience to a team that is in desperate need of it. Are you in favour of the Begovic ahead of Stolarczyk decision, Pete?
Yeah, I think Planet Earth, he says as well, with Begovic being a no-brainer. Absolutely, you took my line. Yeah, no-brainer for me. Keep him in there. I know Andy Moore's obviously a big fan of Begovic over Stolarczyk. Maybe it's a fan of the fact that he's not a fan of Stolarczyk. I've not got a problem with Stolarczyk being in goal. But at this current time, because of what we're trying to do, and that's trying to keep a clean sheet, it's ridiculous. And when you bring in a Jamal Lascelles, I look at that and go, have a Begovic in behind, because you've got Jamal Lascelles who can dominate a penalty area in a Wes Morgan, Robert Huth style, something which I'm sure anyone who's not seen Leicester City play, but then would look at Kelly Bakoli or a Yannick Vestergaard and go, surely they would be able to do that. You would think, wouldn't you? You would think. It's not been the case. Personally, I'm quite looking forward to seeing a Yannick Vestergaard and Jamal Lascelles back two, if we're going to play that way. I still think a back three with Lascelles in the centre, or maybe one side of Vestergaard and maybe a bit of pace on the other side with, I know he's not the fastest player in the world, but with Nelson, I still think that's the best way forward. It's but overall, I think just having that experience behind an experienced centre half who's just come to the club, I think it's the best option. I think it really is. And secondly, and whether this was going to be a question, Rob, or not, just to say again for I think the third time now, I would like the armband to be given to Lascelles. I'm not taking it off Ricardo Pereira. I'm giving it to Lascelles, okay? Pereira's got his own problems. We know about that. But I think Lascelles needs to be given the captaincy armband. Why not? I can't see any reason why it can't be done. It shouldn't be done. I think it's an absolute, again, no-brainer.
I think even if he doesn't get physically handed the armband, from the conversations that Lascelles has had already, and from everybody's sort of viewpoint of him and their perception on him, it seems like literally from day one, since he's gone into Seagrave, he has made it his mission to drag up the standards. He's talked about the 1%. I mean, Leicester, some of the Leicester players aren't missing out on 1% of effort. They're missing out on a huge chunk more, Jamal. I'm sure you've figured that out over the last few days. And yes, he's going to have an impact on the pitch. I'm absolutely certain of that. He looked like it didn't look like his first start in 23 months at the weekend. Let's be perfectly honest. He looked like he should absolutely be there and looked like he'd been there for a long time. Yeah, the captaincy is an interesting one because it would possibly risk upsetting a few things. But if you look at something like, let's say, Granit Xhaka came in at Sunderland in the summer, having not been part of their promotion-winning campaign, and then all of a sudden a new signing's instated as the club captain straight away. Yes, that was at the beginning in pre-season. This would be an interesting decision to come in and do this in February, but I totally agree. He's got a captain's role to play, even if he doesn't take the armband. Talking of the club captain, because obviously it's becoming more and more apparent that he is many levels below the best Ricardo Pereira we've seen play for Leicester City Football Club. And there have been periods in his career where he has been fantastic. But the error early on at the weekend highlighted that. And he's also not played very many midweek games, if any, this season, usually interchanged with Hamza Chowdhury. This gives King an interesting choice because obviously Chowdhury's unavailable. Now, Ricardo, 1, he's made the mistake. 2, he's below par. 3, doesn't usually play 2 games in 3 or 4 days. Your only option really there is Aluko. So does Aluko come in at right back? I think we're pretty much agreed on Lascelles and Nelson at centre back. I don't think Okoli gets back into the team, nor does he deserve to after that disastrous red card. Victor Christiansen reappearing on the bench. Luke Thomas hasn't been the worst player in the team in the last few weeks. The spotlight's a little bit off him. So there's a couple of possibilities there. So there's 2 choices at right back, 2 at left back. I think we've decided the centre backs. What would you go full back wise, Pete?
I'd still go back for the back 3. I really would. Having I mentioned Vestergaard and Lascelles as a back 2, and yes, 2 old guys and very slow, but we had 2 old guys who were very slow and we won the Premier League. It's what you do around them that matters. And by having 2 fullbacks who do not go forward, if you have Luke Thomas on one side and maybe Pereira on the other side, or maybe bring a Luco in, and you make them narrow, and especially against Southampton, and we'll come on to Southampton shortly, but especially against Southampton, who play with wingers, and that's where the ball will go an awful lot with Southampton. If you narrow your defence, you bring in, remember what Simpson did and what Christian Fuchs did. They went very narrow. Go down the sides if you want. Get the ball into the centre, because guess what? We've got some big lads at the back who are going to head it out. And also, they're going to do everything because the keeper's not going to come. Okay, because Schmeichel didn't. In this case, Begovic, if he wants to come, there's a very experienced goalkeeper there. If he comes and gets it, you know he's going to get there. Okay, you don't have a star checking behind. So I would go, if you're going to go back 4, go very narrow and say to the fullbacks, I do not want to see you over that halfway line. Defend, okay? In front of you, you've got a very attacking winger in Steffi Mavididi. In front of you, you've got a very attacking winner in Abdul Fatawu, okay? They're going to stay forward, okay? Your job is to defend. Be narrow, okay? Do not, if you want to get beaten, show them on the outside. And if they want to cross the ball, we've got the big lads in the middle to defend. Be solid. Be a very narrow back 4. I personally would go a back 3. Okay, I really would, because you've got Lascelles in the centre. If he wants to play one side of a Vestergaard, if he's going to be there, obviously he's not going to be for this game, but I'm talking in the future. And Nelson is, for me, a ready-made left side of a centre of a back 3 with a little bit of pace. But for this game, that's the way I would go. Real narrow, back 4, take no chances, and if in doubt, put your foot through it and get the ball downfield. I know that might sound a little bit agricultural, but when you're down in this position, just do the basics. Just do the basics and let the centre halves and an experienced goalkeeper deal with crosses, because I think there might be plenty because of the new centre forward for Southampton.
Yeah, and the basics are defend your own box and get the ball forward a little bit quicker than we have done recently. Daedalus agreeing with you, saying Okoli made a big mistake, but this is a chance to learn. We play with a back 5, which is similar to your back 3 idea. Tighten up. The fullbacks are better going forward. I guess it changes the sort of shape going forward as well, doesn't it? If you play the back 3.
Okoli could play in the back 3. Okoli could be one side of Lascelles and then Nelson the other side.
The other,
if you want to go that way, then fine.
Yeah. Let's step into the midfield then, because Joe Aribo is ineligible for the next couple of games, given that he's on loan from Southampton. Decordova Reid suspended because of the red card at the weekend. So it's, Skip's going to play. I don't see any way that Oliver Skip doesn't start. So then if we are sticking to the same shape, you've got a choice of 3 players for 2 positions there. You've got Harry Winks, Louis Page, and Divine Mukasa. Now, it was interesting for me that Aribo started on Saturday over Winks, despite Aribo not starting a football match in absolutely forever. It may well be that King just wanted to get some minutes into his legs before, like, knowing that the next 2 games were coming up where he'd be unavailable. Because Winks obviously played well when he came on the previous game. And, if he's right mentally, then Harry Winks is one of the best players in the Championship. So with that in mind who starts alongside Skip in the midfield, for me, I would possibly go with Winks if we're talking about overloading or getting as much experience on the pitch as we possibly can, and you have that spine of Begovic, then Lascelles, and then you've got Winks and Skip. Although Skip's not super old, he's quite experienced. He's been around the block. He's played plenty of Championship football. If you got those two in the middle, you're looking to try and increase leadership, minimize mistakes. I would probably go, regardless of what's happened in the past for Harry Winks. You've almost got to treat him like a new signing under a new or interim manager. I would start those two in the centre of midfield, and then probably give Macassar a run out in the number 10 position, and then keep Page on the bench, because he can then come in as either an 8 or a 10 later on in the game, depending on what's needed. That's the way I'd go. What do you reckon in the centre of midfield?
Copy and paste job for me. Absolutely exactly the same. I think Winks has been brought back into the first team fold very gradually, and playing for half the game on Saturday shows that he is now kind of back as a first team player. I think it's again, use the term complete no-brainer. He needs to start, because in this season that we've got of 15 odd games, okay, I do not care how Leicester get these points. They need to survive, and then we can have a whole different conversation about what's happening next season. All we need to do is survive. I don't care who scores the goals. I don't care overall what formation and who's in goal, etc. As long as we get those points, that's all that matters. And I don't think that's, you cannot start Winks, because first of all, there's a space for him. Okay, he's up to speed. He needs to play alongside Skip. We've got nothing in midfield in terms of being able to pass the ball without Aribo playing, without James being fit. So there's no one else who can play in that position. There's no one for me at all. The only player you might bring forward would be maybe Pereira and put him in midfield, but you're just not going to do that for this game. So Winks is an absolute nailed on starter for me alongside Skip, and I would do the same. I would play Macassar there, knowing that you've got Page in behind, because again, he's a brand new signing. Go on, play big game against one of the big clubs in the division. Here's your chance. Go and do your stuff, and you never know, he might be an absolute diamond for the next 15 games, score a number of goals, etc., and keep us in the division. Okay, and so why not give him the starting role? Yeah, absolutely for me. And just about Joe Aribo again, I always think that Aribo's best place would be actually further forward in time. That would be his best role, because he can then move around. He can go out wide, and he can, very importantly, he can get forward and be that second striker and get on the end of a few crosses, something which I don't think a Leicester player has done in about 2.5 seasons.
Getting on the end of a cross. Let's have a quick look at the comments before we take a little look at tomorrow night's opponents, Southampton. Tony, good evening, Tony. Thanks for watching along live with us. Saying 2 strikers scoring 4 goals in open play in 31 games, and a defence where Wednesday are the only worse side. Not particularly optimistic, Tony. No, totally within reason there. Planet Earth agreeing with us, Pete, in terms of saying Skip, Winks, and Macassar in there, and Deedless as well, saying that Macassar has to start in the number 10. There is no creativity in this team. We can release our wingers with a number 10 who has the vision to put them through. Yeah, we need a ball player in there, absolutely. And Macassar comes very highly regarded in terms of his technical ability. We haven't got time to start the striker debate, and it's probably going to be for Tau and Mavadidi, if not from the start, at least featuring significantly out wide. So we'll park that conversation. And we'll introduce Pete Selby, the Southampton commentator, who can give us a little bit of an insight into what we can expect. Obviously, it's a bit of a double header against Southampton. 2 different games with 2 different focuses, really, and there'll probably be some changes to the lineups for the FA Cup game, so we'll have a separate preview show on that. But just in terms of the team coming to the King Power Stadium tomorrow evening on a bit of an uplift of form after they dipped when you backed them to make the playoffs, and now they've hit a reasonable patch of form, and they're only a few points outside it. They've won 3 of the last 4 points off the playoffs. What can we expect from them tomorrow night, Pete?
Yeah, that was yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Horrendous.
Yeah, you're welcome.
First of all, like, yay for me! I've got 2 games for Southampton now against the club, obviously at Leicester, where I know everyone. So it's fantastic because some of these teams they play. Watford at the weekend. Do you know any of the Watford players? Honestly, I was doing my research before the game. My word, they've got some players. I've got no idea where they're
I've
all
only
from.
just seen that their new manager is Will Still's brother, whose first name I can't even remember. That's all I've got for you.
Exactly, a crazy team, but they do have Mendy in midfield. Actually, Watford. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mendy.
Southampton, they're such a strange side. I'll just go from back to front. Okay, they've got Peretz in goal, who at the moment I'm still on the pendulum is towards clown for me. Really, honestly, anything into the area in terms of a cross. Hold on to your hats, everyone, because you have no idea what he's going to do because he doesn't. Okay. Yeah, there was a mistake there possibly every minute, every time he gets the ball. He can make some amazing saves, but I am not confident about this guy. So keep your eye out for Peretz in goal. Their centre halves, Harwood Bellis, we know is a ball playing centre half. They've got the likes of Stevens, but what they still have it in them of playing the ball around at the back, and it just talk about Pereira's error. I have seen that so many times with Southampton. They still have that in them all the time. It's ridiculous. The fullbacks will get forward. Wellington on one side, come into the side. Bree at the back on the other side. In midfield, Finn Downs will be out. He's their holding midfielder, but replacing him will be Shea Charles, who I think is one of the best holding midfielders actually in the league. So that's not really a minus for Southampton. Yander alongside is very, very solid. But what they do is they have the foot, and this is what Eckhart, the manager, has completely changed. The 3 in behind the forward. They've got 3 very good players in behind the forward. And what they'll do is they'll try and get the ball out wide as quickly as possible. On one side, on the right, they've got Fellows, who what he will do always, he'll just run at the player. He'll do a step over, push the ball down the side of the penalty area towards the byline and try and cut the ball back or chip the ball over. He does that all the time, okay? He's got a terrible goal record for a start, so he's guaranteed to score. But that's what he'll do, a step over, and then he'll push the ball down the side of the defender and try and cross the ball in the centre. But on the other side, they've got Leo Cienza, who I still think is the best player in the league. Okay, really is a quality player. And all the time, what he'll do, he'll hang out wide on the touchline. He'll move in square towards the left corner of the penalty area and try and bend the ball right-footed into the far right corner. A bit like Fataru in that style. But on the left, he's quick. He will beat players. He's very, very good. He's an excellent player. He had a real off game against Watford actually at the weekend, but he's an excellent player. So keep an eye out for him, Leo Cienza. But the very interesting player that they've got a Zaz in the centre, who's the number 10, who works hard. He's not quite as good as I think people thought he was when they signed, but those 3 are very attacking, okay, and they're going to be the big danger. But their centre forward, maybe it will be Ross Stewart, but they signed a player. And imagine doing this, Rob. Imagine doing this, everybody watching or listening. Imagine signing a centre forward who's actually over 6 foot, who's actually quite good at getting on the end of a cross. I've never heard of Kyle Larin before, on loan Canadian 30-year-old from Mallorca. No idea. Well, he came on with 20 minutes to go against Watford. And he came on. The first thing they did was whip the ball in. Great defending by a 17-year-old centre half, flying towards his own goal and somehow kick the ball away for a corner. Don't quite know how he did that, but Larin was right behind him. Anyway, they take the corner, whip the ball in, edge of the 6-yard box, central position. Larin jumps to the left, jumps to the right, jumps back to the left, loses the defender, diving header, 6 yards out, bullet past the goalkeeper. First touch of the ball into the back of the net. Scores with his first touch. And I'm not going to say he's going to do that on Tuesday or he's going to score 16 goals before the end of the season. But all of a sudden, 2 crosses into the box as soon as he comes on. One was inches away from finding him on the penalty spot and the other one goes in the back of the net. Sometimes football is a simple game. And when you're down in Leicester's position, simple is what we need to be. And that's what hopefully Andy King will be installing into the side. Just play simple football. And hopefully our talents, which we've got in certain places, will shine through. But with Southampton, I think Larin will probably start. Now he's had that start and scored the goal. So I can imagine the likes of Fellows will just be running. As soon as he gets the ball, run as quickly as he can down the touchline and just try and chip the ball from the byline across towards Larin. That's what he's going to do. Cienza is going to be a bit more direct and probably score himself because he's very capable of that. They're a very attacking side. They're a dangerous side, and I do fear for Leicester. The one thing that Leicester can do is they can hurt Southampton at the other end of the field because Southampton are perfectly capable of making a ricket at the back. And again, keep your eye out for the goalkeeper. I am not convinced.
We've got to put balls into the box to put them under pressure and have somebody that might actually threaten to get anywhere near that ball, though. So that's a whole different question. It doesn't bode well for the predictions, which are coming very, very shortly. So if you're watching along live, get your predictions in now. We'll get them up on the screen for you. Kyle Larin, I'd only heard of him because I signed him on FIFA quite a few years ago for Leicester. And these players on FIFA, they're only sort of like mid to late 70s rating. So they're not absolutely world class, but he's big, he's quick, he's strong, and he's good in the air. So on FIFA, all you needed to do was make him stay on the shoulder of the last defender and either slip a through ball in or stick a ball up to the back stick. And there he goes, he scores. So, and that's clearly what Southampton did in real life at the weekend. So, yeah, they offer a bit of a threat, don't they, Southampton? Which means that we probably can't sit here and say that Leicester are going to get anywhere near keeping a clean sheet. What I do hope for the game, and once again, a reminder for those of you watching along live, get your predictions in now. We will get them up on the screen. You've literally got a minute or two until the show finishes. What I really hope is that the players do Andy King a favour and do themselves a favour and make sure that they are still in the game after 30 minutes. Make sure they're still in the game after 45 minutes. At least get to halftime. If they get to halftime in the most dull, boring fashion with absolutely nothing happening, then we can at least start to have a look at, do these players have the capability to get us out of this situation? Does Andy King as a manager, does having him in position for a little bit longer have any merit? Can we trust him in that position? Because you can't judge him on the past two games because the players have absolutely destroyed it for him. That's what I want Leicester to do, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be. I'm seeing a lot of predictions coming in now. I'll stick them up in a second, but because I want to get mine in first and make it sound like it was my idea. But I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. Especially, I didn't think so anyway. But after we've had your review of Southampton's team, I'm even less confident. But I think Divine Macassar is going to announce himself at Leicester City, and he's going to get a goal and an assist, I reckon. But it's going to be for a point. It's going to be a 2-2 draw. That's my prediction. Planet Earth is saying 2-0. Let's hope that's 2-0 to Leicester rather than Southampton. Scott's not so optimistic. He's going 3-1 Southampton. And I presume the person that's logged in as for Fox's sake on the socials is probably going to be Andy Moore, given that me and you, Pete, are here. Unless
actually,
it's
that was me. That was me. Sorry.
You get to speak. You're on the show, but you're saying 2-2. Planet Earth saying 30 minutes is stretching it. All right, 10. Go on, 10, 15 minutes. Get your first 10 minutes in, please. Tony is also predicting a Southampton win. This is a Leicester podcast, isn't it? This is a Leicester show. Just checking. So a few of our viewers. Not in favour of, but predicting a Southampton win. Pete, you get the final word. What are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow night?
Well, I said it's going to be a Desmond. It's 2-2. I just hope they play Macassar because they will play these two slightly defensive midfielders in Yanda and also Charles. And the one player, I mean, we're not spoke about the forwards because we don't have any, but Daka has to start because what Daka will do is he'll run around and he'll put pressure on defenders. And again, I mentioned that in talking about Southampton, perfectly capable of making a ricket at the back, like Pereira on Saturday, very similar. The likes of Stevens, etc. Maybe if Nathan Wood plays very tall centre half, but when he's got the ball, not too good. The ball playing centre half is Harwood Bellis. So he has to start, and also the wingers, Mavadini and Fatawi, they need to put pressure as well on the defence. Pressing Southampton is the way forward. What that might do, it might open the game up, because I still would have our defensive midfield slightly sitting because of the threat that they have on the break, especially out wide. Hence the reason why you would probably play like a narrow back four and having Winks and Skip. That's the way I can see this game going, and I think it will be an entertaining game. So I'm going for 2-2 because, of course, we're never going to keep a clean sheet, are we? But I'm confident about maybe grabbing a draw as long as we can get or keep 11 players on the field and not have being down to 10 men at any point, unless we're in front with a minute to go. But also, I want them to start well. And we've seen what Andy King can do with his halftime team talks, because so far the team have actually come out in the second half and played well, even though they've been in awkward positions down to 10 men against Birmingham, still in the game at 1-1 before Lisa Stanfield scores for Birmingham. And then you go back to the Charlton game, we're 2-0 down, but then we played really well up until the missed penalty, and we still quite played well after that. But again, you're playing against a side who maybe did sit back because they're already 2-0 up. So there are, you're talking a very small sample here. But I would like them to really take the game to Southampton at the start. And I can see it being a very entertaining game, because they normally are against Southampton. Two clubs who are in looking at different directions at the moment for one reason or another, but both in a little bit of a mess. Leicester, we all know about. But with Southampton, they've got a talented side with some very talented players. But what they need is a little bit of grit, a little bit of substance to them. And unfortunately for Leicester, they may have just found it in the last 2 or 3 games. And if they have, then that spells a lot of trouble for Leicester, because they do have, again, very talented players going forward. They may have a centre forward who might well be on a bit of a goal-scoring run at the start of his Southampton career. And also, to reiterate, they've got Leo Cienza, who I think is probably the best player in the league.
There we go. Finish on a Southampton positive there, Pete. Why don't you? That is the preview. Leicester Southampton tomorrow, Tuesday night. Leicester looking to avoid a third consecutive home defeat in the Championship for the first time in 20 years. Let's hope our prediction of 2-2 holds firm. We'll speak to you soon.